right. Back for another live stream tonight. I'm gonna aim for maybe an hour or so here. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on recently. Before I get into the main topic that I want to talk about, or like the main controversy of today, I'm gonna, let people get a few minutes so they can get the notification of the live stream. And then when a few people start pouring in here, then I will go over the main controversial subject for today that you might be able to see in the video title that you clicked on. So, um, before I get into that, I was just on what's this guy, Jay Gee's channel, and I was just having some conversation over with there, some familiar faces, some day damn devil demons over there, such as Jill, uh, this guy William, right, William Freeman. And then there was this other person named what's this person? Nisha, right? Nisha, right? Nauseous, I should call her, right? But Nisha, right? Called in and was like, "Oh well, I debate Hebrew Israelites, on like a daily basis or something." I was like, "Okay, well, like, what's your point of contention?" Like, I've seen you have conversation with some of these other cats, such as A's Philosophy and Dirty Varmint. I've seen her have a conversation with those two dudes before. And her perspective is, sweet baby Jesus, as long as I believe, I'm saved for eternity, I don't have to do any works, hey, it's just believe in sweet baby Jesus and you're guaranteed eternal life. So I just thought that was funny, so I was like, okay, I'll see what she got to say, I'll give her a chance, see if she has like any, reasonable point. And of course, what do you know? She wanted to come up to try to, you know, diss on, Hebrew Israelites for us teaching that you have to, keep the law. And, she got cooked, right? She got cooked. She talk about how, oh, well, Jesus fulfilled the law, right? Jesus fulfilled the law. It's like, okay, cool. But like, what does that mean? Like, do you know what that means? Because the Bible tells us what that means. All you got to do is read Acts 3:18 and Luke 21 verse 44, right? It tells you that all the things that were written of in the law and in the Psalms and in the prophets concerning Christ, that's what he fulfilled. Right. So, by reading the Bible in context, we get an understanding as to what it means by Christ fulfilling the law. It doesn't mean that since you fulfilled the law, that now means that you yourself don't have to live in accordance with that law. Like, again, that's what this wacky tacky, Christian church out here teaches. Since we baby Jesus died, that means that we don't have to live righteously. Like, literally, there's guys out here on YouTube, like these free gracers, right? Like, there's this dude out there that's named Jack Smack 77. I call him Jackass, right? Jack the Ass, and he teaches on his channel, right? Like one of these top leaders in the free grace community, or as I call them, the free grease community, right? They're free grease for that fire. And, the dude's on there saying, yeah, true Christians, we can live like the devil, right? Like we're not required to, have righteous lifestyles. You can live like the devil, all that you want. The only thing that matters is, if you believe in, sweet Jesus for like a couple days in your life, then you're eternally, secured forever. What I was surprised as well today, I found out that even Jill holds that belief. Well, let me rephrase myself. He doesn't teach to live like the devil. I'm not going to bear false witness on him. He doesn't teach to live like the devil, but the belief he holds in common with Jack Smack is that, your salvation is secured. So like I asked Jill, if he believes that he's secured forever and that, does he believe he's going to heaven when he dies? Because the dude asked me that question, like, do I believe, or us Hebrew Israelites, do we hold the belief that salvation is secured? And I tried to explain to him, the way we teach it. So Bible says that you have to endure to the end. Matthew 24, verse 13, right? It says, he that endures to the end, that's the same that shall be saved. Right. So the Bible teaches that we have to be in this faith until the end when Christ comes back, and then you receive salvation. It's not like some type of mythology where you can just say a couple magic words and now you're secured forever, no matter what you do in your life. Like, that's stupid. That's not what the Bible actually teaches. And I mean, if anybody's not, reasonable to understand that, then I just don't know what to tell you. It's funny. Like, I asked the dude, it's like, okay, so Jill, you're saying that your salvation is secured literally forever now, but what about like literally, say for instance, there's 2.4 billion people or 2.6 billion people on earth who claim to be Christian, meaning what? That they claim to follow Jesus, they claim to believe in the teachings of Jesus, right? Now, let's just hypothetically say if you were to go up to 500 million of them, I guarantee you at least 500 million out of that 2.6 billion believe that their salvation is secured. And, they believe they're absolutely, secured. When they pass away from this current life, they're guaranteed to go to heaven when they die. Again, I literally guarantee that there is at least 500 million people in the world who will tell you they believe that and they're secured forever. And when they pass away, they're guaranteed to go to heaven. So I was just shocked when this supposed, top level teacher, told me he believed in that garbage. I was like, come on, man, you got to be a little bit more smarter than that, to buy into the doctrine of, after you repeat these couple words and believe in Jesus for a couple months, you're guaranteed, eternal life. Like, sorry, that's not true. Like, one point we could go to is, Christ told the apostles, if you read, was that John 15:13? He said, you are my friends as long as you continue whatsoever I've taught you. So they could have went back, right? Like, Christ had many other apostles that followed him for a season of time, but then, over tribulations or offense because of the word, they went back into the world and stopped following Christ. So for a period of time, there were many people who were apostles and followers of Christ, but then due to, different circumstances, they went back into the world and stopped following Christ. And that's a good example to go with it, like a good parable would be in Matthew 13. Christ gave the parable about the seeds falling into, certain grounds. Recommend going back and reading that chapter. And the point was, one of those seeds represented a person who believed for a season of time, but then when persecution arose because of the word, they got offended and they went back into the world and stopped following. And that's a rusty nail in the foot of the free grace community right there, because they believe all you got to do is just believe and you're forever secured. But yet Christ gave an example there of a person who did believe and then stopped believing. So that's a rusty nail that they stepped on right there with that chapter. But anyway, since we're 10 minutes in, I'll go ahead and get to the name of the video here. So the main controversy from today, as far as the second, right, March the 2nd, the main controversy today is it came out that Chief Al-Azhar, right, the leader of the Sicarii Hebrew Israelite movement, apparently there have been text messages that have been leaked by one of his ex-wives, where this guy was setting up a OnlyFans account for her, where he was, getting her to, go out with white men and, put pictures of herself online or whatever, try to get, white boyfriends and, wear t-shirts to say, oh, I love white guys. It's like, wow, I had a hard time, believing this. I was like, there's no way. Like, this has to be, like, maybe somebody used, like, an AI to make this. Maybe some people, like, made a couple fake accounts to make it look like it's him texting back and forth. But no, Alazar really came out on camera, like, on his channel. I believe it's called Chief Dome or something like that. Like, he was live maybe 4 hours ago, and he was saying, no, this is real. Like, he was saying, oh, I didn't do everything they claim I did. But he was saying, yeah, these were leaked messages, right? These were leaked messages. And, I watched About 45 minutes of his hour-long video he put out today, or his live stream, I should say. So to be fair, I did not watch the entire thing. I watched like 80% of the live stream. But I want to point out though, throughout a vast majority of the stream, he really didn't address the accusations put against him and, claim that they're false. From listening to what he was saying, it sounded like he was agreeing that these accusations were true and that they were actually leaked by somebody, which he said was the woman that was on the messages that we were able to see, which was his ex-wife. Because Alazar has multiple different wives, right? He's practicing polygamy, which is nothing wrong with that. That's in the scriptures. But he has like multiple different women that he, is in a relationship, right? So this is one of like his ex-woman. So that's like the whole controversy. And I'm not mentioning like every single detail here because it gets it gets a little bit too much, but if you want to learn more about it, you can literally just go all around YouTube and literally learn about it. Like, say, for instance, like Deacon Hakah and Facade, they're live right now on the Deacon's channel talking about it. I seen a live stream earlier today by Captain Tazariak of the Cross the Line Radio, ISUPK school. He was talking about it earlier. In fact, before I did the stream, I saw that he was live talking about it a second time today. So I'll have to check that out. Maybe there's some new information that came out. I can't speak as to that, but based on the information gathered earlier, it's definitely some bizarre things going on over there, man. And again, at first I was like, maybe somebody just like made a couple fake accounts to make it look like, Alazar saying, these type of things. But it turns out, according to his admission, that these were real and they're leaked, private messages, according to Alazar. That's bizarre. It's like, wow, like what leader in the Israelite movement would literally sit there and behind closed doors, sell their wife to other men? Right? Like he's on there telling her, we need to put you on OnlyFans. I'll set it to where only white males can see you, so you won't get like paired up with like, black men. And really, it was probably because he didn't want anybody from the camp possibly seeing her on there. So if he just sets the settings to white men, nobody would find out about it. But think about that, man. So this guy, apparently, according to the information, was trying to sell his wife on the side, which I imagine would be like a financial gain, right? Because there are literally women out there, man, that are using OnlyFans that are making literally millions a month. Like, say for instance, there was a popular female that was from the Mr. Beast Squid Games video from like what 4 years ago. I think her name was like um Jamala or something like that. If you watch the video, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. But she ended up taking the fame because everybody was, lusting over her that was watching it, saying, how beautiful she is. So what she did is she went out and created an OnlyFans account, and now she's out there, living in, $1 million home, got, a couple hot rides, in the garage, and is milking in that cash. I'd say she's probably making 100 grand a month, if not more. So again, there's women out there getting rich off of these OnlyFans. So I believe, which again, I could be mistaken, but it makes sense off of the information that Alazar was trying to, sell his wife around, for money, right? Maybe she'd, gain a following where she could send men pictures of herself in exchange for cash. Then he was buying her like T-shirts to say, I love white men, or white sugar daddies, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just it's remarkable to me. It's remarkable. This guy, from all the information coming out, this is what this guy's been up to in his private life. And this is very serious. Going back to the scriptures, because the Bible says, I believe that's Leviticus 20 verse 10. It says, a man that sleeps with another man's wife, he's committed adultery. Right? So selling your wife around, that's forbidden in the scriptures. And to lie with another man's wife, that's forbidden. So if this man was allowing his woman to go out and get another man, because it says in the text messages, Alazar was saying, yeah, we need to get you a white boyfriend. Wait, a white boyfriend, but aren't you her husband? So wait a second, that's adultery right there. Right, that's adultery right there. Here it is. This is your wife, and you're sitting there saying, we need to go get you a white boyfriend. What the hell? Man, I'll tell you, man, that there's some wild shit going on right now in Israel, man. There's some wild shit. And the video I seen earlier was from one of these like top Sicarii captains, I believe it. Man, I can't remember all these guys' names, but it was like a popular captain in the Sicarii has like, I think they call him Ariala or something like that. He has like 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's like one of the top captains. And this guy did like 2 live streams today, grilling this guy. He even brought that dude Hassad. I call him Fassad. Right. So he even brought Fassad onto the stream to talk about it. And man, it was it's a hell of a thing, man. And it's funny because I always remember, Sicarii would make jokes about, saying, yeah, we believe that God's going to bring Great Millstone down, right? God's going to divide Great Millstone. They've been saying that for the past like 2 years, right? 3 years, saying, we think that God's going to, split Great Millstone. But then lo and behold, this year and last year, right, 2024, now into 2025, Sicarii is split. Right. Remember, like 7, 8 months ago, the second in command and the third in command under Guerrilla Hebrew, Deacon Hakah and Hassad, they both left. Right. Hassad got kicked out over a disagreement with Guerrilla, and then Deacon just stepped down because he got tired of being a deacon of the organization. Right. So they both left and founded their own school, Genesis. Right. So that, and then you had a couple other camps that were part of the Sicarii break off and join Genesis, and now you had like this top of the line captain, do all out expose on Gorilla, so people are starting to drop out left and right, man. And if these accusations are true that this man really is out doing this, selling his own wife, meanwhile he's running an organization about the Bible. That's a man. That's a hard pill to swallow right there. And it's funny because like these guys would be the same one that would sit there and they'd be the first people to sit there and talk shit about like a Christian pastor that's like stealing from the congregation, or has underage girls that he's messing with. Like these guys will be the very first one to like sit there and criticize men like that. But yet it turns out their own leader is selling his own wife for money. Again, according to the information coming out. I mean, again, I can't 100% say that it's true, but from everything we're seeing, it seems like he's guilty of this. And from his own admission, he's saying these are leaked messages. So he's not saying they're forged. In fact, he even said in his live stream that no, these are not like artificially made. These are leaked images from private chat between a man and his wife. So again, as to his motives behind all this, I'm unsure. But going by the information coming out, he's agreeing that it is true. Let me hit some comments here. I see we got some brothers down there. Let's see. Yeah, man. I mean, from all the information we see, you know, this dude is out there, selling his wife, to other men, or at least attempting to, right? At least attempting to. Like literally, if you watch the video from earlier, if I remember, somebody can remind me after this live stream to put a link to the video from earlier where they show the information. And if somebody lets me know, then I will address that. Right. I will address it and put it down there. If you would like to listen to the video, I'll pin it down there, but somebody's gonna have to remind me of that later. But yeah, man, it turns out like the Sicarii is the one falling apart. Hell, GMS, they're the same as usual, right? They're the same as usual, nothing too much going on over there. The ISUBK is growing. Matter of fact, they just recently, I want to say yesterday, there was a popular YouTuber that I actually watch. I've been watching this dude for like a couple years now. His YouTube channel is named Tyler Oliveira, right? Tyler Oliveira. And this guy, he just like travels the world and like you know, um, goes to different countries to like interview people living in bad conditions, travels America to interview people living in like major news events of the week. Really entertaining channel, but he recently went down to interview the ISUPK Israelite group. So it was actually a really entertaining video. Recommend checking that out. And then I also seen that Tazariak on his what is it, Captain Tazariak podcast. He put out like an hour and a half bonus video where he sat down and did the whole like interview discussion with Tyler Oliveira over in the like the main school. And you know what? Here's a fun fact for you. The Israelite school that they use for the cross the line radio, it's literally only an hour from where I'm at. Like I looked it up one day. Like if you go to their website, if you scroll down to the bottom, they'll like tell you the location where the school's at, right? And it turns out that the school that they stream from like every Thursday night is actually only an hour away from here, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, so you know from where we stand now, it's just the Sicarii is dwindling, right? They're dwindling. Right, Millstone, they're at average, right? They're not really doing a whole lot, not negative, not positive, right? They're not growing as far as like members. ISUPK, on the other hand, the Cross Line Radio, they grew like what, maybe 9,000 subscribers in the last 2 months. And again, I on the sidelines will sit there and say, all these groups, I agree with them on some things, you disagree with them on other things. Now I think GMS is the top Israelite camp in the Israelite community. I've been watching Great Millstone since 2016. But again, are flaws with Great Millstone as well. There are flaws with Great Millstone. Like, let me give you an example. Like earlier, I was watching a video that Apostle Gabar put out, right? Apostle Gabar put out a video I was listening to earlier, and he was talking about, if Christians roll up on us, and want to debate, we'll just call the cops on them. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell? You guys are going to call the cops on Christians for wanting to have a conversation? Like what the hell? That's not how righteous men of God act. That's how preschoolers act. Go run to the teacher and tattletale on your friend because they made a fib up about you, right? Like that's basically how stupid this is. Like picture this, right? What are they going to do? Like 911, what's your emergency? What's your emergency? Yeah, somebody came out here and wants to debate the Bible. Can you come out and send them away? Like, come on, that's not right, man. And again, I agree with Great Millstone on a decent portion of what they say, but I'm not going to sit here and be an ass kisser. If you say something wrong, you got to get corrected. And that goes for all these camps. That goes for all of these camps. And there's no exception to that. Right, this brother here, he's right. Let me see real quick. Yeah, what? Yeah, it won't let me pin that brother's comment. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, he said they should debate. Yeah, absolutely right. GMS, they should enact in debates. Like I remember, some of you new guys might not remember this, but back in like 2019, uh, this dude, Vocab Malone, actually went down and talked to the apostles in New York. And they actually really got along, right? They really got along. They could sit there, joke with each other, have a friendly back and forth. It was still a debate, right? It was still, their ideas versus vocab's ideas, but they were getting along, right? They were getting around, they were getting along with each other, just a couple of years ago. And now we're to the point where they'll be like, oh, vocab comes along, just call the cops on them. It's like, wait, what? Like, I mean, that don't make any damn sense. I mean, how the hell can you call the cops on somebody for just wanting to have a conversation about the Bible? I seen Dahar even said, I'm going back to when the deacon and Hassad left the great what was it, left the Sicarii, like the first month it happened, right? Like there was a situation where Hassad went down to like a GMS camp that he saw and they were having a discussion. And Dahar was like, the next time this guy rolls up on you, you guys should just call the cops on him. Thinking like, wait, what? What the hell is the point of calling the cops on brother Hassad, or as I call him, Fassad? What's the point of calling the cops on a dude for just showing up to have a conversation about the Bible? Or anybody for that matter. If you don't want to have a discussion about the Bible or a debate about the Bible, then you guys shouldn't be screaming on the street corners then. Just go home and do a live stream from your couch, right? Do a live stream from the living room. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, if you don't want to go out and have a public interaction with people, then just do a live stream from home and talk about the Bible. Like, seriously, like, well, what is the purpose of going out to the streets to scream for 3 hours if you're not going to talk to anybody who wants to come up and ask about what's going on here, like what you guys, are talking about? Like, again, you're going to get the same, viewership it, whether you're doing it on the street or doing it in your living room. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get that. It just seems very childish to me. Yeah, yeah, brother's right. He said calling the police is pretty weak. Yeah, that's a good point. Like I was thinking earlier about doing a whole video about this topic. Actually, I didn't get the chance to do it yet, but I might make a second video talking about it. I was going to call it like, GMS calling the cops on Christians? Question mark. I was going to talk about, yeah, it's a pretty weak thing to do, especially the guys that claim that they have like 100% truth. And just to clarify, just because I'm pointing out a flaw here, that doesn't make me a scoffer, because that's how some of these guys, like that dummy, what's this dude, GMS North Carolina, or y'all know who I'm talking about, like that dude that's always, got his nose up at everybody, that talk smack about everybody. Again, I didn't do anything to the dude. He don't like me for some reason. But hey, that's on him. The Bible says you're not supposed to hate the brother for no reason. So hey, I don't hate the dude, but he don't like me. So hey, if that's what he wants to do, then he can do that. But I didn't do nothing to the guy. You know, but um, but yeah, it is what it is. Let me give you all a little bit of a backstory. Some of you probably don't know this about me. But I actually attempted to join Great Millstone. I want to say back in 2018, I attempted to join Great Millstone. Again, I've been listening to Great Millstone since 2016, right? So in 2018, I attempted to join, and keep in mind I was 15 years old, but I didn't look 15, right? Everybody thought I was like in my early 20s, right? When I was 15. So I did the standard thing, right? You have to go and ask them, am I allowed to add GMS to my YouTube title? And they were like, yeah, yeah, you can do that. You can do that. But then, some controversy happened where somebody else that was like high up said, well, wait, he asked me, I didn't give him permission. But then he asked this other guy and he gave him permission. So then they asked, could take it down. I was like, whatever. That's fine. But, later on, I didn't really care. But I want to point this out. I also did have a online private chat with the GMS camp. They're still out here to this very day. I believe they're called GMS Solomon Assembly or something like that. You can look them up. You might be able to see who I'm talking about. And the leader of that camp is that dude that got like two beards on his face and he has like a blue garment. I remember those cats. There was three of them back then. I don't know how much the camp grew, 7 years later or whatever. But yeah, they were telling me, yeah, we view you as a man of the Lord. We think the Lord's dealing with you. But then 2 months later, when they claimed I did something that I didn't, then they're like, yeah, that guy's not a man of the Lord. Keep in mind, I'm 15 at the time, right? They don't know that, to be fair. They didn't know that. But here it is, these guys turn on me, cast me to the side. And what do I do? Do I leave the truth and just go play games or something? No, I stuck to it. I made my own name. Right? And these guys even told me, hey, go make your own name. And I did that. But I did that. And guess what? Now they know who I am. These guys, they know me. You ask the Tahar, which is the main man in charge, you got to know that guy, ETT. Oh, yeah, I know that dude. Yeah, I know him. And then Tahar's like, yeah, ETT, we know him. Sometimes he speaks, down on us, but other times he is supportive of us. That's true. Right? That is true. I'll always sit here and say that I do support Great Millstone under the leadership of Tahar on down. But I also will, time to time say there are a few disagreements as well. And that's just factually true. Like I think Great Millstone should say they have like 90% truth. Right, so a good way to classify Great Millstone is they have 90% truth and then 10%, misinformation. I think that's a fair assessment to give that group. So again, I don't want to sit here and rant about that for a whole hour, so I won't go on for too much longer about that. I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, about the whole thing about calling the police on Christians, I mean that's just childish. That's not how righteous men are supposed to act. Hey, look, you ever heard the saying that goes, you know, if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen. Right? Hey, look, if you can't handle debates, then you shouldn't be out there trying to interact and teach people in the public. If you're weak, then just stay home and do live streams. If you're going to go out, then you need to be prepared to talk to people. Like, say, for instance, like when I go downtown, I always run into Jehovah Witnesses down there. They better be prepared for that because I always stop and have a conversation when I see them out. So there's Christians out there who are curious about Hebrew Israelite beliefs and teachings. So if they see you out there, they might stop and want to have a discussion. And, to just throw those people away and say you won't talk to them, that's not beneficial for anybody. Anyway, let's see. Somebody asked a question. They said, if you believe hell is not a burning place, do you believe that Satan and the fallen angels are real? Yeah, I believe that Satan and the fallen, well, let me rephrase myself. Satan and the demons are real. As far as the fallen angels, we teach that those are, there's no such thing as fallen angels, right? When you read Genesis, the 6th chapter, the sons of God are not talking about the angels in heaven that supposedly came down and slept with women. That's not true. The Bible calls humans sons of gods. Like, say, for instance, if you read, was that John 1:12, I believe it's 1 John 1:12, if I'm not mistaken, or the book of John 1:12, it says that as many as believed had power to become the sons of God. Right? So humans can be the sons of God. So I think that's just a misunderstanding. Let me see here. Hey, how's it going, MMA Paradise? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, yeah. But debates attract new members. That's true. Right? That's true. People like drama, right? People like to see ideas versus other ideas. And I don't, disagree with that. It's true. I've always been attracted to seeing debates, right? One philosophy versus another philosophy. When I do debates, I take Larkin Rose's perspective on debates. People asked him, why do you do debates with other people if you know they're not going to change your view? And Larkin Rose says, when I do debates, I'm not trying to change my opponent's view on the topic, but I'm rather trying to show the audience watching the debate that my opponent is wrong with his worldview. So that's the stance I have. I'm not trying to change the mind of my opponent, but I'm trying to provide information to the people listening so they can see my opponent's view is wrong and mine is correct. That's my debate tactic when I have discussions with people of other, faiths or beliefs. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, right? It makes them look like they're afraid. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like again, if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen. If you can't have debates with people on the streets, then don't go out to the streets. Like, I mean, again, it just doesn't make sense to me how people could just gloss over this. Yeah, look at this dummy here. Right, full preterism is the only truth. Nah, that's not true, man. Full preterism, only truth. Oh, come on, man. You can't be serious. You can't be serious. Full preterists, the only truth. You know what I find funny for the people watching him? So here there's this dude here, Truth and Tello's ministry. But I see this guy all over YouTube, right? This guy's all over YouTube, having like 100,000 debates with people trying to convince them that we're living in eternity right now. So apparently we're living in eternity. But then on the other hand, the third world war is about to kick off any other day now. Like seriously, like we're in a very dangerous position right now, man. But this is your kingdom? This is the kingdom of heaven here? But yet, meanwhile, the world is on the verge of a nuclear conflict. Like, come on, man. You're not logically thinking. Let me see. I'm not sure what you mean. You'd have to clarify. I've always said that there were errors with the Sicarii group, right? So, say for instance, Gorilla's actions, that doesn't speak for our group as an entirety. Hell, like that's like saying, say for instance, like if a pastor abuses a child, that doesn't represent Christianity as a whole together, just because one pastor went out and did that. That's like the same line of reasoning. Oh, because if one guy went and did this, that means that all of them are bad. Like that's not reasonable. This guy said, Hebrew Israelite eschatology is false. In Adam, all were dying, but in Christ we are all made alive. Christ is the only true land. True land, I believe he said Lord is what he meant to say. Yeah, I don't. It doesn't make any damn sense. So the guy's like, "Oh, we're living in heaven today." It's like, dummy, how the hell could we be living in heaven if shit where I'm at, there's police sirens going off every day. Police are chasing people down. People speeding away from the police. Drug deals going on every corner. Literal gunshots ringing out at 1 in the morning. Like shit, recently somebody downtown got shot over something petty, right? Where I used to live, there was a dude who was out walking and the dude got hit by a car. And what did the dude do? That would, ran the guy over by accident. The dude just sped off, right? Left the guy there for dead, because he didn't want to get caught for accidentally running somebody over. Or maybe the dude was drunk or something. I don't know. But the dude left the guys, dead ass there on the side of the road until somebody found him, a couple hours later. Oh, this is the kingdom, right? This is the kingdom. So wait a second. So if Jesus Christ is ruling the world today, then why the hell is he not crushing these false Jesuses? Like, say, for instance, the fake Jesus over in like Ghana that has like 1 million followers online and literally has people there worshiping him as Jesus, and literally full towns of people come to him for like healing and guidance. Why did Jesus not crush that individual? Why the hell is there this dummy on YouTube named Samuel Owen that claims that he's Jesus Christ in his second resurrection and says everybody must bow before me, right? The roaring lion from the tribe of Edom. So if Christ was really ruling the world today, why would he let these people impersonate him? Like when he crushed these people, like why the hell would he let people impersonate him as Christ if he's ruling the world today? If he's here among us ruling? That's retarded to think that. What about what is that? Luke 19:27. Bring my enemies before me and slay them at my feet. Where's that happening at? Because remember, according to these guys, all that already happened. So where the hell is that at? It's just stupid, right? Some of these people just can't think. Let me see. So now, what about the Book of Enoch? I mean, I personally don't accept Enoch for a few reasons. I don't think it's canonical, but I do own a copy, right? Like, say, for instance, a couple months ago, I was at a yard sale and I was overlooking the book section, and they literally had the Book of Enoch, the prophet there, and they wanted $1 for it. I was like, shit, $1 for the Book of Enoch? Yeah, I'm going to pick that up. I don't subscribe to the Book of Enoch as being inspired, but it might be a good read, right? Like it might be a good read, but it doesn't mean it's inspired. Same thing with the book of Jasher. Oh, I'll give you a better one. Recently, I actually picked up what is that? I picked up the Egyptian Book of the Dead recently. It doesn't mean I believe in that mythology, but it might be a good thing to read so you can understand Egyptian views, right? It might be helpful for future conversations or debates. Like if you deal with some of these guys are like, big into, what is it, like Kemet or, Egyptian religion or, so on and so forth. It might be good to know some information that could be available in the Book of the Dead. Same thing with the Quran, right? It'd be good to read the Quran. It doesn't mean you have to believe in it, but you can understand Muslims' worldviews to have debates and conversations. It might even be beneficial to read over some of the documents from the founding fathers. Even though we believe that they were all scum and, robbers and thieves, it might be good to understand their worldview and how they view certain subjects. Increases your knowledge and your understanding, to view the world from another person's perspective, and it helps out in future debates and conversations. Let me just check something real quick. Okay. I'm going to try to get to like every comment here, but do excuse me if I skip one or two of them. Man, this one's just so funny to me. I gotta have to keep coming back to this one just to have a good laugh. Right? Full preterism is the only truth. I mean, come on, this is hilarious, right? This is hilarious, right? So full preterism is the only truth. But yet, meanwhile, 1 out of 5 children in America is going to bed without a meal each night, right? It doesn't matter that innocent people are being locked up for petty bullshit crimes. Oh, Jesus' kingdom here. This is Jesus' kingdom. I mean, come on, this is beyond strange. This is beyond strange. If anybody can't see it, then they just don't know what the hell is going on. Uh, let's see. This brother said, "Brother, I was listening to your past live stream about Satan's little season, where you brought up reincarnation. People who pierced Christ in the first century will be reincarnated in the end times." Yeah, I brought up what is that, Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, "Well, he will come with clouds, and every eye will see him, including those who pierced him." Right, even they who pierced him are going to see him. And I mean, I could go to other precepts that support reincarnation, but that's there is telling you that the soldiers that pierced Christ's side, with that spear when he was on the cross, or the men that whipped Christ, before he carried his cross, they're going to see him when he comes back again. Now dummies like full preterists would say, "Oh, well, see, that proves it happened back 2,000 years ago." But the way we understand it is it just means those people are back on earth alive today. Now, sure, they don't know who they are because the Bible says that the former things are not remembered. Was that Ecclesiastes 1:11? It says the former things are not remembered. So, you can't remember your past life. You can't remember who you were. You can't remember what you did. That's hidden from you, right? So those men don't know who they were in the past. But in the past, they did that to Christ. So even they're going to witness him return the second time. I'll give you another example of reincarnation. If you read, what is that? I want to say, was that Mark 9 with that man that was born blind? Right, the apostles asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or was it because of his parents' sins? And that shows you they had a concept that you could be born with a disability because of your own sins. And that would beg the question, well, how could he have sins if he was never born before? Well, reincarnation gives us the answer for that because that would mean that you lived before and now you're being born again. So it was saying there, they asked him, why was he born like this? Was it because of his own sins or his parents' sins? So it shows they had a concept that you could be born with a disability because of your own sins. And where would you be able to commit those sins? In a past life. So that's just another example for you. Or John the Baptist, right? Christ said that John the Baptist was Elijah. That didn't say he was just in the likeness of him. He said that this was him, right? Matthew 17:10. Check that out. Yeah, yeah, got you covered. Oh, good questions. Zelensky Trump show, was it all staged? It's funny you mentioned that. I was actually just cruising around on YouTube yesterday, and I didn't know anything about this. Apparently, it happened like 2 days prior. And then I saw it was recommended in the comment section on like a video, like somebody said something about. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, let me check this out real quick. And then I looked, and I found a couple videos about like a tense exchange between Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office, right? I mean, it was pretty interesting. I mean, I wouldn't sit there and say it's staged. I mean, listening to the conversation, it sounded like a genuine disagreement, right? It sounded authentic. It didn't sound staged. At least that's my view on it. I think it wasn't staged. It was it was just a real disagreement. And as to what it means for the future, I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting, man. It's definitely some weird shit going on. But I forgot, guys, we're in God's kingdom. We're in the kingdom of heaven. So none of us should worry about that. Right? Like, no reason to worry about being on the verge of World War III. No reason to worry about, all the violence taking place in your local city because we're in kingdom today. We're in the kingdom. I mean, come on, this is retarded. This brother said full preterism has never made sense to me. Yeah, I hear you, man. You know, uh, I don't think any rational person can make sense of a full preterism. I don't think anybody can make rational sense. And do excuse me if I stutter a little bit. I'm sitting out here shivering in the cold. But I had to do what I got to do to do this live stream tonight. So do excuse me. This brother said, "Let's set up a dialogue." Yeah, that's cool, man. We can set up a dialogue. A matter of fact, let me see real quick. On screen, that is my own personal Gmail. You can contact me there. Send me a message, and maybe we can work out some type of time where it works for both you and me. And I'll make a stream and bring you up here, and we can have a dialogue on topics of your choice. So you can contact me there, and we'll set something up. This brother said I have a lot of books about symbolism just to know it. Yeah, that's all good, man. Like, say for instance, like I got a buddy, Jay, not Jay Gee, but Jay from Sacramento Truth Movement. Man, that brother got like what, 50 books on the shelf? Right, some of them dealing with numerology, Freemasonry, Islam, Christianity, history, quote unquote lost books of the Bible, so on and so forth. And some of that stuff can contain good information in it, about things to know. Like, say, for instance, like even I have, world history books. Now, say, for instance, is knowing the history about the Dominican Republic and Haiti going to affect my salvation? No, it's not going to affect my salvation at all to know the history of Haiti or the Dominican Republic, but it might be interesting to know, right? It might be interesting to know that world history, even though it might not have anything to do with my salvation. Let's see. This brother said, "Is if hell is not a burning place, is uh is that a sin?" I wouldn't say that's a sin. I wouldn't say that. I know there's other people who would teach differently, but I wouldn't say that that's a sin. And again, hell, when you read the Bible, don't get this mistaken. There is going to be a fiery judgment, but that happens on the physical earth, right? That fire is going to take place on this physical earth. It's not like a mysterious, what's the word I'm looking for? Mysterious place that you vanish to when you pass away. That's not true. It's the fire is going to be on this physical earth. Like, say for instance, like Christ came back, said when he comes back, he's going to bring fire on the earth. right? Like, say, for instance, a good example would be 2 Peter 3:10 on down. Check that out in your free time, right? It says that there's going to be a day when the heavens are going to be on fire, and the elements are going to melt with fervent heat. So there's a lot of verses in the Bible that talk about a future punishment involving fire, but that happens on this physical earth. Like, say, for instance, when you read about Babylon's fall, that was from bird's eye view looking down, that would be a lake of fire right there. Hell, like say, for instance, if you were to see a satellite image of Los Angeles on fire, a month or two ago when the fires were going on, from a satellite view, that would look like a lake of fire looking down, on Los Angeles. So when John depicted that lake of burning fire and sulfur, he was seeing Babylon the Great burning. So he just described that as a lake of burning fire. But that was on the physical earth. So it's not like a place you go to when you pass away and all that's mythology. And then there's other times where the word hell is used in the Bible where it has metaphorical usage, where it could mean like a bad condition. Like, say, for instance, I could say that I'm catching hell. That doesn't mean I'm running around on fire. It just means I'm in a bad condition. Like, say, for instance, Jonah said, Jonah chapter 2, verse 2, I cried by reason of my affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell I cried, and he heard my voice. So he wasn't literally burning on fire, but he was in a bad condition. I'll give you a bonus example. If you read Psalms 9, I want to say 17, it says, the nations that turn from the Lord, they shall be turned into hell. Just a bonus. Chris said Sicarii hates white people. Well, again, I teach that white people are the Edomites, but that doesn't mean that every white person is an Edomite. There could be some confusion to face people, right? Israel today can look like all nations. So, you shouldn't just hate somebody because of the color of their skin. Again, it's true that God hated Esau. That's certainly true. But again, that doesn't mean that everybody walking the earth that has that type of skin color is Esau, just like not everybody who's black is an Israelite. Again, you got to take context into consideration. Let's see. Brother said the Passover is coming, where the Jews release the statement about red heifers is sacrificed. Time to rebuild the temple. I mean, I've heard, about over there that they find some, red heifers, but there's a lot of stuff going on over in Israel right now. A lot of stuff going on. Hell, they're still in war with Gaza over there, right? The Hezbollah over there, and in Iran. There's a lot of shit that's going on right now. But I forgot, everybody, we're living in the kingdom. Don't forget that we're living in the kingdom today. Sure, it doesn't matter. There's a war going on in the Holy Land today. We can brush that under the rug. Like October 7th, it doesn't really matter, because we're in the kingdom. We're in the kingdom. I mean, come on, this is childish. I mean, who the hell in the 21st century could believe in full preterism? Who the hell in the year 2025 can sincerely say that they believe they're living in God's kingdom? I mean, whoever believes that might want to go get a mental evaluation, if I was to give my personal advice. Yeah, what's how you doing, Alfred Gee? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, me and them, we chat like behind the scenes on like what is it? Gmail, right? Gmail. They always send me messages every, couple days or whatever. So yeah, glad to see you here. Hope you're doing good. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah, this person asked me a couple days ago, like, what's some disagreements or differences between Great Millstone and the ISUBK? There's a handful of disagreements between the groups, such as one of them, which is a very good one that they brought up here, is, well, I'll read the comment first. Alfred G said, "What's the deal with John the Baptist falling out of the truth? Why is that important?" Well, um, let's say this: John the Baptist did not fall out of the truth. But the ISUPK, they teach for whatever reason they have. I got no clue why they say this, but they claim that John the Baptist, near like the end of his life, like he turned from the ministry and like turned from the truth. They don't really clarify like what that means exactly when you ask them. They'll just like, well, he did like his own thing. He didn't really follow after Christ. It's like, well, what do you guys mean by that? Like, that wasn't he teaching about Christ? Wasn't he the man that baptized Christ? And then later on, he was put in prison and then got beheaded by King Herod. So, I mean, like, what exactly did he do that he fell out of the truth? Like, I don't get that. Like, I really don't get that. It's a strange doctrine that when you ask these guys, they can't break it down. Or I'll give you a bonus example of a weird doctrine. Like, I've heard that the ISUPK teach that Christians are wrong for practicing communion, right? That like communion is like a evil practice, is what I've heard them say. Like it's a pagan practice. It's like, well, how could that be the case? Like, if you read Matthew 26, just as one example, you see Christ and the apostles have the Last Supper and the communion, right? The wine representing Christ's body, or excuse me, let me rephrase myself. The wine represented the blood of Christ, and the unleavened bread represented the body of Christ. Excuse me. So Christ told to them, do this always in remembrance of me. So how could you sit there and say the church is going off if they do that together with their, meetups? Like, say, for instance, I've been to homes where there's maybe like 5 or 10 people that come together, to study the scriptures and they do a communion together. Like, how can you tell me that's a wicked? That logically doesn't make any sense. Somebody would need to explain that to me. So I don't get that. Let me just grab a drink real quick. This brother said, if Babylon will be nuked, you can't go to an island in the middle of the sea. Or will the nuclear fire be everywhere? Because it said World War III would happen, but the end is not yet. Well, the way I'll answer the question is, we teach that those missiles are going to hit at the very end, right? But it wouldn't be against the scriptures if you were to like relocate somewhere. We believe that we're going to get saved up out of this place, right? At the very end of this thing. Now, before all of those initially drop here, right? We're going to get raptured away just before that happens. That's what we teach on it. But it wouldn't be a sin if you were to like move across the world to another nation. That wouldn't be a sin to do that. Like, say, for instance, people try. There's a whole thing called a flea doctrine, right? Like, there's groups out there that teach that according to Revelation 18:4, when it says, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sin, and that you receive not of her plagues," they'll tell you that you have to flee America, like you have to actually go back to like Jerusalem in order to get saved. That's not true, right? Revelation 18:4 is talking about that rapture event, right? Like literally come up out of her, right? Like we're getting raptured away. But again, if you want to leave the country, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But some of us are set here for a purpose to teach over here and then get delivered at the end. Some of us are set up in that position. And then some other brothers are set up around the world. Like, say, for instance, there's brothers over in Australia, over in the UK, over in India, and their lot is to teach over there. So all of us are put into different circumstances. Here, bear with me a second. guy asked, "Who was John of Patmos?" What do you mean there? I mean, I would say that the John of Patmos, right, that wrote Revelation, that was the same John from the Gospel of John. I mean, I know there's people out there who say that he was a different person, but from my reading of the Bible, I would say that he was the same person. And now it is true there are many people in the Bible named John, right? There's multiple different people that have the name John in the Bible, but the John that wrote Revelation, that was the John that wrote the book of John. At least that's my teaching on it. This guy said, "White people are Edomites. Are you a Hebrew Israelite?" Yes, I am a Hebrew Israelite, but I'm not as extreme as some of these other guys. Like, say, for instance, like me and somebody of a different faith. Well, no, we can sit here and crack jokes together and have a good time having a discussion. It doesn't need to be some type of like barking match, back and forth. That's foolish, and we get nowhere by doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, time to time, I can bring people up here to have, respectful back and forth, conversations. And that's, a good way to conduct yourself. Let's see. No, I wouldn't say that it's a sin. No. Now, one might say maybe you shouldn't watch certain things when you do that, but I wouldn't answer and say that it's a sin. Like, nobody can show me book, chapter, verse where it states that that particular thing's a sin. Now, people try to go to like one account where a man was supposed to impregnate his brother's sister when he passed away, or excuse me. Let me rephrase myself. One was supposed to impregnate his brother's wife. Let me rephrase myself. But then he decided not to do that at the last minute, so God struck him dead for that. So the reason God killed him in that circumstance was not because of this sin here, but rather, if you read the context, it was because he didn't raise up children to his brother's wife when he passed. So that'll be my answer for that question. Yeah, this is a good point here. I want to focus on. This brother said, some of those full preterism channels are really big. I got no idea why. Yeah, that's a really good point. There's literally people out here like this one dude that had a debate with the Sicarii, ironically enough, because that's like the main topic of the video. But there's this guy named Pastor William Bell, and his whole like ministry is called All Things Are Fulfilled Ministry, right? All Things Fulfilled Ministry. And this guy literally has been teaching full preterism for 40 plus years. You heard that right, 40 plus years. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it's like, hold up, wait a second. So this dude's been teaching this since like the 80s. This dude's been teaching this since the 80s. This dude literally has been teaching this for like double my lifetime. Wow, that's remarkable to me. That's pretty bizarre. So this guy's been teaching that for 40 plus years. Damn, and this dude's not tired out yet. Man, I got to give it to him. That's some serious dedication right there. I got to give the guy props, even though he's clearly wrong. I got to give the guy credit. That he those demons are strong on him. Keeping him in that delusion for 40 plus years. Damn, that's some serious dedication right there, or maybe we say some serious demons right there. You be the judge. This guy said, Ronald Dalton Jr. sort of promotes a flea doctrine. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Is that cat that did that movie? Oh, what is that movie called? What wasn't it like Negroes to Jews or something like that? Or Jews to Negroes? Cesariak did like an interview with that dude. That might not be the guy that I'm thinking of, but the name rings a bell though. I've heard that name before. Okay, thank you for the email. I will check that later after the stream, and then I'll get back to you on that. Let's see. Said, why do you believe John of Patmos was John the Beloved? Like, what verse do you think points to that idea? I mean, I would just say just by reading the New Testament, from Matthew all the way to Revelation, it seems consistent with me that the John that wrote the Gospel of John wrote Revelation. So, I mean, is there a particular verse in general that I would point to it? I mean, off the top of the head, I don't think I could give you a verse that I'd point to prove that statement, but I don't see what other John you would point to that wrote it. Like say for instance, I could flip the switch on you, or flip it around on you, whatever word you like to use, to see like how would you combat that? Was there like another John that we don't know about that wrote this book? I don't hold that view, but if you want it, you're welcome to. But I'd be interesting to see where you get that from. His brother said the Onan doctrine. Onan, I'm not sure what that. I'm not sure what that means. Oh yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Hebrews and Negroes. My bad. That's exactly what I was thinking about. I just couldn't pronounce it that way. Oh, the name was on the tip of the tongue. But yeah, that's the dude I was thinking about. In case y'all don't know, he actually did the debate with a Deacon Hakah. I want to say maybe 3 months ago. I believe it was like in October or November, something like that. And the whole debate was about like, was the true land of Israel like where it is today? Like, is the land of Israel that's at war today, is that the ancient holy Israel, or is it like in the Americas, or some garbage like that? I mean, it was an interesting conversation, but I mean, Deacon Hakah took the win in that discussion, in my opinion. Let's see. It's funny. Even this guy, the Zealots of Israel, is even doing a live stream, coming after Alizar. That's typical. I mean, shit, I could see that coming a mile away. I was like, damn, I know that dude's gonna do a video about it, right? I should have bet money on that with somebody. But this dude said, surprised that you are a Hebrew Israelite. Is it true that Hebrew Israelites teach that King James of the King James version was black? I mean, there are camps that teach that, but I can't if you ask me my opinion on it, I would say that I'm unsure. I don't know if he was a white man, don't know if he was a black man. I'm not sure. I wasn't alive back then, so I don't know. But I know there are camps out there that teach that. But again, if you were to ask me for my stance on it, I tell you that I'm unsure. Right? Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I've seen some of the evidence to try to claim, but it seems to be a bunch of forgery, in my opinion. Just a bunch of cherry picked information, just to try to show that he was dark skinned. So again, in my opinion, I think that it's a bunch of cherry picked information that they give to try to prove that point. But just a side question for you though, like, did you think that I was like a just a regular hippie Christian or something? Just curious what you would think that I would call myself, though. But let's real quick, since we're an hour and 10 minutes in, and a lot of people tuning in right now are not familiar with what I talked about at the beginning of the stream. Let's just do a little recap real quick, just so everybody that's tuning into the stream now is up to date with what I'm talking about, or the main controversy of today, right? So, just a quick recap for a minute or two. The controversy of today is the chief priest Alazar of the Sicarii has allegedly been selling his wife around, selling his wife's body around to white men. There's been private conversation, text messages that have been leaked where Alazar is setting up his wife on OnlyFans to go around and lay with white men. You heard that right. So that's the current accusations that are put against Chief Priest Alazar, the leader of the Sicarii organization. And again, this is a major thing. That's adultery right there. Like Alazar was saying, yeah, we need to get you a boyfriend now. Wait, get her a boyfriend? Like, dude, you're her husband. So that's a sin, right? Like if and that, all three of you are involved in that, right? According to the law, all of you would be put to death according to the law. That's adultery right there. That's a sin unto death, according to the Bible. So this is a quote unquote righteous man of God that's sitting here selling his wife to other men. And it gets wild. I'm not even mentioning everything that was in these in these Gmails, right? There's accusations of Alazar, engaging in rainbow activities. Like, I kid you not, I'm not even making this up. There's accusations on there about this dude indulging in like rainbow type of activities on there. So again, this is like, this is unexpected, right? This is nobody saw this coming, right? Like, no, if you were to ask people, like, what's your prediction for like the Sicarii camp this year? Like, what type of like new doctrine or dogma do you think's gonna, pop up with this group this year? Nobody would see this coming, right? Nobody would have a damn clue that, this type of controversy would it would arise on literally the very 2 months of the new year. You know what I'm saying? It's hilarious. Well, I shouldn't say it's hilarious, but the funny part is how this is going to be brushed under the rug. Like, it's not a important thing that needs to talk about. That's the hypocrisy. That's the funny part. Like, all these guys, I don't know how any of these guys are going to remain in the Sicarii school after the leader comes out and admits, well, yeah, these were real text with my wife that were leaked online. So, wait, hold up a second. So you're admitting this is real? You're admitting to these rainbow activities? You're admitting to selling your wife online to other men? Wow, that's nobody saw that coming. No, nobody saw that coming. So here are the guys that sit there and talk about GMS and all the corruption supposedly going on over there. And all these Christian pastors, doing all the wickedness they're doing. But it turns out their own leader is selling his wife behind the scenes. Wow, that's pretty weird. Nobody saw that coming. This guy said, I haven't seen any of your streams, or any of your sermons, excuse me. But from your end times doctrine, I'd assume you'd be identify as a even evangelist, excuse me. Well, I mean, I technically am, right? Because I'm out here teaching people the good news. Well, at least teaching our people the good news, right? Because one difference between I and you would be, our view is we believe that Christ Yahushua was only sent for Israel. We don't believe that he came for like every individual on earth. We believe that his ministry was only for the lost children of the tribes of Israel. Right? Say, for instance, Matthew 15:24, Christ answered and said, I have not been sent but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? So we believe that Christ was only sent for those people. It wasn't for every nation in the earth. Again, there would be some disagreement, but I'd be open to have a conversation. Now, before somebody says, oh, well, wait, but didn't it say that the gospel would be preached in all nations? Yeah, it does say that, but there's context. The reason why it's being told in all nations is because Israel has been scattered into all nations. I'll give you an example. If you read Acts chapter 2, verse 5, it said there are Jews, devout men out of every nation under the heaven, right? But it called them Jews. So they're Israelites that are spread among all nations under the heaven. So that's why the gospel is being spread out to the world, because Israel has been scattered throughout all nations on earth. Hell, we even look like other people today. So that's why we're going to the other nations, because Israel is scattered among those nations. Let's see. His brother said he must be hard up for cash. Yeah, like shit. Let me tell you something, man. Like, I don't know if any of y'all remember, but the Sicarii, they used to have a main channel that had like 75,000 subscribers like 2 years ago. But then YouTube like terminated the channel for like violations of the terms of service, right? So they deleted their channel for whatever reason that was. So man, a lot of the people that were following the Sicarii, they don't follow him anymore because they don't know how to find it, because the main channel that they're subscribed to was gone. And a lot of people, they just subscribe to a channel and then, check on it like every couple months. They don't even, hell, if you were to ask them, like, what's the name of the channel? Like 8 out of 10 people probably wouldn't even know off the top of their head unless they're looking at it on their phone screen. Right. So a lot of people probably wouldn't even realize, because the channel will get buried among the 900 other channels will subscribe to on YouTube. So yeah, they're hurting for cash over there, man. The super chats are dwindling. The channel, what is it? The join memberships are dwindling. What's this other website? The ZZYN or whatever that garbage is. That's dwindling, the memberships over there. So yeah, they're hurting for cash, man. So they needed to think of something real quick. Hey, what's up, Flat Earth Handy? How you doing? More folks might join the Genesis camp. Right, the Genesis. Inside joke, inside joke. Oh, man. Right, well, what's up with the slogans that this dude is giving his damn you know camp, right? Oh, big G's, not little G's, right? Big D's, not little D's. That's basically what it is. Inside joke, inside joke. But I mean, seriously, like, what's up with this crap that these guys are like making up these damn slogans and shit? Be original. Yeah, let me tell you, son. There was this knucklehead depositron the other day. That was on my comment section, and I didn't realize that a few days ago this guy like apparently like sent me a message, and now he's talking like under a different name or something. And I was like, well, I don't. Somebody the other day said something similar to what you're telling me here, and then the guy's like, well, that was me. And then I tried to say, well, dude, I can't remember your name because, for one, I talk to like 500 people a week or something like that. I'm exaggerating, but I can't remember everybody's name. You know what I'm saying? Can't remember everybody's name. So I do apologize, if I get you mistaken for somebody else. And dude's like, well, it's a simple name to remember. It's Joel or something. And then I was like, okay, well, get a little bit more of an original name, maybe. That there's like 25 million other people out there named Joel or whatever, right? Joel or Joel, whatever this dude's name was. There's 25 million people out there with your name. Why don't you get a original name? You know what I'm saying? It's hilarious. This guy said, if the Bible were false, would you want to know? Well, sure, I'd want to know, but I mean, based on all the evidence that I've seen, the Bible passes the test. Like, say, for instance, I was thinking the other day, like nobody can show me any other book that passes the test. Like, say, for instance, the Bible stands up to the test. Like, say, for instance, uh, the events that happen in there, many of them have archaeological evidence to support it happen. Many of the areas that these, say, battles or, wars or stories claim to have happened in, those lands actually exist. And many of the prophecies in the Bible have been fulfilled. Of course, not all of them, obviously, but there's prophecies in the Bible that have came to pass, just as it says. Like, say, for instance, Christ being born and then, being raised and then teaching and then dying on the cross. That was in the Old Testament. That has been fulfilled, but it was predicted, 1,000 years before he was, on the earth. Read Isaiah 53, right? Deuteronomy 18:18, Isaiah 7:14, just to name a handful for you. Those all came to pass. That clocks out, or that checks out. That lines up with what we see. That was predicted and happened. Here in the end times, we see things lining up to take place as the Bible says it would. Everything that Christ warned about that would happen in the last days, we're seeing line up right now to take place. So again, no other religious texts out there can do what the Bible can do. And I challenge anybody to show me otherwise. Let's see. Hey, brother, just so you know, I answered your question, the second question. I'm trying to watch what words I use because YouTube doesn't like certain words, right? But the second question, I've answered it twice for you. I said that that wasn't a sin, and I gave one or two examples for it, just to clarify. But as far as your first thing here, you said, "What's your opinion on Messiah 2030 documentary?" I've actually never seen the documentary, so if I remember, I'll check it out. Maybe you can remind me later, and like in the comment section, you might be able to comment or send me a link to it, and then I can check it out. But I have not seen that, so I can't really answer as to it. Let's see. Yeah, said waiting for Christ to come down as lightning. Yeah, I hear you, man. Hey, but believe it or not, Flat Earth Handy, there's dummies in this chat down here that believe that that already happened. Oh, she came back in 70 AD. The hell you mean came back in 70 AD? Like, how the hell could Christ have came back in 70 AD and won the war if the Romans were victorious? The Romans were the one who sacked the city and destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD and overall won the Roman Jewish wars from was it 63 AD to 74 AD, or roughly around that time period. They were the ones who were victorious. So how the hell did Christ come back and defeat the armies of the world, like it says in Revelation 19? How the hell did that happen in 70 AD if the Romans were the one who were victorious, and then after the battle went back to their home country and ruled for how many other, centuries afterwards? So again, hey, the logic is not making sense. Apparently, apparently these guys know each other. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. There's no problem with that. No problem with re-asking questions. Sometimes that's good. I was just clarifying. Let's see. And I apologize. I am a little bit behind in the chat here, but I'm trying to address all the comments I can here. Let's see. I mean, I can check your channel out again, man. I might not remember off the top of the head joining over there because I join a healthy amount of channels, every week or two. So, I can't remember everywhere I'm at, but if I remember, I'll check you out and maybe I'll hop on in the future for a discussion. Oh, is that so? Well, again, like I don't know if you're not familiar with Hebrew Israelite teaching, right? But the Gentiles there can be multiple different types of Gentiles, right? A Gentile could mean a person of another nation, but also can mean an Israelite foreigner. Like, let me give you an example, right? Like the Corinthians, you'd say they're Gentiles, right? But Apostle Paul, when he wrote to them, he tells them in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 1 on down, he says that all of our forefathers, they all walked through the Red Sea with Moses. So keep in mind, he said all of our forefathers, so he's talking about the people he's writing to. So that shows that the Corinthians, Gentiles, they were Israelites because he talked about how their forefathers, which were Israelites, walked through the Red Sea with Moses. And what people did that? Israel did that. Is the Israelites walked through the Red Sea with Moses. So that shows you the people he was writing to that you say are Gentiles were Israelites. They were just in a Hellenized state of mind. They didn't know who they were as a people. You know, you could have a person that was, say, a Roman who could actually be an Israelite. Like, say, for instance, even Apostle Paul himself was a Roman. He lived in Rome, but he was also an Israelite. Like, what is that? If you read, what is that scripture? What is that? Romans, the 11th chapter, starting from the top. Apostle Paul said, I myself am an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. But we know he lived in Rome. So even though he lived in Rome, he was still an Israelite. So it shows you there were people who were Israel who did live abroad. So that, you know, they could be called by, you know, the names of the areas they're from. Like, say, for instance, right? Like, if I was to travel, let's just give a hypothetical example. Like, if I was to travel to the Philippines, people ask me where I'm from. I might say, oh, I'm from America. They'll say, oh, okay, well, he's an American. Or let's say if I was born in Russia and then I traveled to, um, say, Africa. They ask me where I'm from, and then I say I'm from Russia. They'll be like, oh, okay, well, he's a Russian. But originally, you know, through the, you know, family's history, I might not originally be from there. That could have been from another, you know, region in the world. But then I was just born and raised over in Russia, just for a hypothetical example. So again, you could have Israelites who are born and raised in another nation and be called by that nation, you know, name, but might actually be Israelites through their family's history. You know, so that's just a simple way of breaking that down for you. Let's see. uh, brought you out of Egypt too. What do you mean by that? How how is Chicago Egypt from your perspective? Like, hey, I know according to the scriptures that there's another city that's spiritually called Egypt. We'd say that's America. But from your perspective, how could you say that Chicago is Egypt? You said that he brought you out of Egypt too, and then that's Chicago. How do you make the correlation for that? Because again, I'm sure we'd have a different view as far as the Revelation 11 when it talks about the city that's Egypt. You know, so I understand that, but just from your perspective, how would you break that down? All right, I got you. I got you. Let's see. You know, let me. You know, I've been trying to do another video. I was gonna do something along the lines of EDC. You know, tips and tricks. And if you don't know what EDC means, it means everyday carry, right? Like, you know, you see these dudes out here that are literally, lugging around, 20-pound backpacks with them, everywhere they go as part of a EDC carry kit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what the hell? Like, as far as what you should rationally have with you as far as EDC is just whatever can fit on your belt loop and whatever can fit inside your pocket. Like say for instance, it's not realistic to think that everywhere you go, you're going to be carrying some type of bag with you. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these guys just have a fantasy, where they think, well, you know, God carry the bag everywhere because there's, situation could break out at any time. It's like, okay, well, typically you're not going to be able to have the bag on you everywhere you go. Like, say, for instance, like if you got to work a job, like a physical job, not like a desk job, you ain't going to be able to carry that with you the whole time. So, whatever you use for EDC, you're going to have whatever can fit into your pocket, or fit on the belt loop. So just a few tips that I would have for an EDC. Well, here's the top one I'll give you. This is something that everybody can do. And most likely, ironically enough, it has to do with the device that you have in your hands if you're listening to this from a phone of some sort. So here's the first tip I got for you. What everybody should do is take $20 bill, right? Take one $20 bill and put it behind the case of your phone, right? Like, how your phone can come out of a case that you got for it. At least most people have those phone cases, right? So if you don't got one, then maybe you can't do it, but maybe you should look into getting a phone case if you don't got one. So take the phone out of the case and just put a $20 bill back there and forget about it. Forget that it's even there. Don't spend it. Just forget that it's there. And only in a emergency use it. Like say for instance, like the other day we drove past we were on the highway and there was somebody literally in the middle of the lanes that literally broke down and they had to like the car broke down. So they had to literally like go to the gas station, which luckily was literally just a couple 100 feet away, fortunately enough for them. And then they had to purchase an entire gasoline bottle thing. The ones where you like pour it into like power washers or, lawn mowers, right? The whole, plastic bottle thing. Where they had to buy one of them and fill it up with gas and then go to the middle of the busy highway and refill their car. The hell, that $20 could have saved that person's ass right there. If they didn't have any, thing in their wallet, they could have had that emergency 20 behind the phone. So again, there could be many situations that could happen, in day-to-day life where having a emergency $20 bill, can save your ass. So that's just my little life hack for everybody. And it's something everybody can do. There's really no excuse to not do this, at least to some extent. Not everybody's going to be able to keep $20. Like say for instance, if you live over in like India where like people are making like $2 a day, somebody over there might not be able to put 20 bucks behind the phone. But shit, it wouldn't hurt them to be able to save up to put five behind the phone because $5 in Indian currency is basically the equivalence of like $20, $25 in American currency. Like say for instance, like I watch some of these travel channels on YouTube, like Brew Binsky, uh, a Christmas List, Bald and Bankrupt, so on and so forth. And some of these guys have done videos in the past where they show like, what can $10 get you in the Philippines or in India, in Africa, in Jamaica, so on and so forth, right? So the whole goal of the video is to see like what can $10 in US currency get you in those foreign countries. And you'll be surprised at how much $10 can get you over there, man. Like seriously, if you compare that to the States, it's unbelievable. Like say for instance, I was watching over in like Jamaica, him spend like 10 bucks. He got like a damn uh breakfast for two people. Little, shitty stuff like from street food, but still breakfast. They got a handmade necklace, a little pack of seashells, um, a couple flowers, a couple street pack of peanuts as a snack, right? Like roasted peanuts. And then they were able to afford two beers and then a dinner for both of them for literally 10 US dollars. I'm thinking to myself, it's like, shit, for $10, I can't even get a damn, fish Olay sandwich from McDonald's and a damn Dr. Pepper for under $10. And shit, they're getting that much over in Jamaica for $10. I mean, shit. That's that's crazy to me. It's crazy. I'll tell you, man, I've been looking into some of these overseas cheap living, you know, um, situations. Like, say, for instance, there's this dude I watch on YouTube. His YouTube channel was called The Philosophical Gamer. Recommend looking him up. It's called The Philosophical Gamer. And basically this guy, just like most of us, who was born in America and, was tired of the rat race that he had to live in. So instead, he decided to sell everything and like move overseas to a foreign nation. And now the dude can basically relax and, chill out every day and live on his revenue he makes from YouTube, which is maybe like what, 500 to 1,000 a month if he's lucky. So that dude, hey, look, he escaped the rat race. And he's living a simple, minimalist lifestyle over in like the Philippines or in Asia or something. So I got to give the guy props. He beat the system. No, but yeah, man, if you go over to the Philippines, there's literally homes over there that are like what, 100 US dollars, 150 US dollars a month for these homes. And they're really nice homes, believe it or not. Yeah, they're pretty small, but I mean, again, for just a guy and a girl, if there's just like one or two of you living there, it's perfect. Of course, there are some, downsides that come with these homes. Many of them are constructed with cheap materials. Some of them don't have hot water. Um, don't have a whole lot of space in them. But again, for one or two people, you really can't beat it. Again, I recommend looking into it. Just look up, cheap living in the Philippines on YouTube, and you'll probably get a couple thousand results, of interesting information. So I've been doing some research into that. It's like shit, hell, if I could, maybe, hell, in the next reincarnation, maybe I'll get born in one of them countries. I'm just joking around here. If we don't believe there's going to be, multiple more generations, at least Lord willing not, right? We hope that this place isn't, going on for another couple hundred years. And it certainly doesn't look like that, right? This place looks like it's circling the drain. And everybody can see that, right? Everybody can see that. Dummies online talking about, well, maybe Christ might come back in 1,000 years from now. 1,000 years from now? I mean, shit. This place doesn't even seem like it can last to like 2030, which is only 5 years from now. This place it's unbelievable the shit that's going on out here. I mean, shit, half the country doesn't even know the difference between the right hand and the left hand. Right, half the country can't even, pass a seventh grade spelling test. Shit, half the country couldn't even point out America on the world map without putting up the names of the country on the map. You know what I'm saying? Like this is bad out here. This is bad. Let's see. And sorry, I'm skipping some comments here. I can't keep up with everything. Let's see. He said, "EDC, yeah, I can dig. Gotta always have a bug out bag too, and a defense piece." Yeah, I hear you, man. I got my bob. Right, I got my bob, which really I call it an inch bag, or I more so call it an inch bag. And there are some pros and cons. For one, a lot of people have a mythology with inch bags, which, if you don't know what that means, it stands for "I'm never coming home." And the belief behind it is, well, at least this is what most people think about it, that, we'll all run and live out of this bag for the rest of my life. Whereas the way I look at it is it just for a like extended period of time. Like, say, for instance, why make a 72-hour bag, a 3-day bag? How the hell do you know that the situation's going to be over in 3 days at your end? What if the situation you're in, whatever that might be, what if it's a week and you only prepare for 3 days? Then what are you going to do? That's why you should make an inch bag. So it's stuff in there that's more long term. It's not just supplies for 3 days. It should be like less food and more, objects or items that are going to be more useful in a long term situation. Again, you could be in a situation for 3 weeks. You don't know, right? You don't know. But of course, the con with the inch bag is obviously you're not going to run it out somewhere and live in the woods out of one bag for the rest of your life. Obviously, that's mythology. But the pro to it is you're prepared for a much longer SHTF situation compared to somebody that just made a 2 or 3 day bag. Shit, what happens if they're out there for 2 more weeks for whatever the situation is? What the hell are they going to do? Because they didn't prepare for, a longer stay, wherever that might be. So again, there's pros and there are cons, right? There are pros and there are cons, but that comes with basically everything in life. Hell, even being in this truth, it has pros and cons, right? Even this truth has cons. Like, say, for instance, in the world, friends that you knew before the truth, they're not going to want to hang out with you anymore once they find out that you're a Hebrew Israelite or, a Christian and you value living by Christ, words and his teachings. Like, say, for instance, we can't go out and party at the bar, with your friends every day of the week then once you come into the truth. You can't go out there and get drunk with your friends. You can't go out there, and gangbang. You can't go out there and just mess around with other women that are seeing men. You can't go out and do those things anymore, right? You can't go out and party around. You can't go out to Red Lobster anymore. You can't shave your facial hair. Stuff like that. Those are cons in this thing. People that you used to hang out with and be buddies with, they're going to start thinking you're weird and not want to hang out with you anymore. And all of us have stories like that, man, where we got people that we know who, persecute us. Hell, I've been in mental institution before because of my faith. I've lost people that I know. I've been through a thing or two in this truth. I've been in the truth for 10 years. I've been in the truth since I was 12 years old. I'm 22 years old now. So I've been in the truth for 10 years. I've been a follower of Christ. So in my journey, I've learned a thing or two, in this walk of mine. Again, not that I have all the answers. I'm still learning, but, I've seen a thing or two in this. Let's see. Yeah, and as far as the defense piece you're talking about, yeah, if you can, of course, get a firearm. But, not everybody can. In most countries on earth, you can't legally own a firearm. So it might be good to have like a second option. Maybe that could be a baseball bat. Maybe that could be a knife. Maybe it could be pepper spray. Maybe a stun gun, even. Again, in different places in the world, there's different, regulations that are set up, that we unfortunately might have to abide by, so yeah, not everywhere you go, you can own a firearm. Said Jesus said, carry your cross, right? EDC. Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah, I agree. If you always got to have one tool with you at least, man. Like shit, I remember I used to work out at a trailer park, right? I always would have my trusty flip blade knife with me. It was helpful in a lot of situations, man. Unfortunately, I lost that one Like, say, for instance, the last day of the job, I forgot to grab it off of the fridge, right? So, hell, it's over in Florida now. So that's like literally, what is that? I want to say like 1,300 miles away from me. So shit, I'll just consider that long gone now. I ain't ever seen that again. But man, it was a good one. It was one of those $5 Ozark Trail knives, but it was pretty damn good for $5. I can't complain. Yeah, man. I'd say that the thing you asked earlier, that it's not biblically a sin. But again, I could be mistaken, right? I could be mistaken, but from my study on the topic, I wouldn't say that that is a sin. But that's my understanding of it. Me again, I could be mistaken, but that's my understanding as to your question. You're welcome to agree or disagree. Let's see. This brother said, pretty good life hack. Keep a 50 stack if you can. Might as well. Plus, I hear they fixin' to get rid of the $100 bills. Yeah, my perspective on the 50s and hundreds, this is how I'm thinking, right? I personally don't like to have any cash amount above $20. And what I mean by that, I don't mean just have 20 bucks in my pocket. What I mean is the bills that I have, like the multiple bills that I got on me, I don't like to go over $20, right? Like I don't like to carry 50s or hundreds because there've been plenty of situations where I need lesser bills, like ones, fives, tens, or 20s. So me personally, all the money I have, which at least at this moment is like $22 or something like that. Yeah, I'm out here living in sorry ass trash situation. That's a situation I'm living in. I'm living in extreme poverty right now. I Sure, let me say this. Let me drop a bar on you. Let me drop a bar on you right here. I'm living in a first world country, the world's richest country, living like I'm in a third world country. Think about that. That's my bar for tonight. Right. I'm out here living in a first world country, feel like I'm living in a third world country, with my standards of living. And I can't be speaking for just myself here. There gotta be people out there in the same boat, right? But yeah, man, like say for instance, an example that I had where the 100 bill didn't work. I was having a yard sale one time, and there was a guy that came up and wanted to buy a Ozark Trail tent that I was selling for $30. The dude handed me a hundred, and asked if I had change for it. Said, "Nah, man, sorry, but you can go next door, and they'll be able to change it for you." There was like a little gas station, convenience store that was literally across the street. So he went over there, was able to get the change for it. But it shows why you shouldn't trade in large bill amounts like that. Like, say, for instance, what if there wasn't a little store there? Then me and the guy wouldn't be able to make that trade just because he had too large of bill amounts on him, right? Again, you always want to keep your cash in low amounts, right? As far as its value for each bill, like only carry tens, 20s, fives, and a couple ones. At least that's my advice for you from my experience. Not that I've had a whole lot of cash in my life, but that's just my advice on the topic. Well, hold on a second. Well, here's my question on that topic, though, and this goes for the Christian church, right? If that subject is considered a sin for a male or a female, well, here's my question for you, and I don't think the church can answer this. And this is the same thing that Daniel, the Muslim skeptic, was asking inspiring philosophy when they had that minor marriage debate maybe 2 years ago. They asked, well, wait, well, what does the church teach, teens about that topic, right? If it's a sin to, do that to yourself. And then on the other hand, the church teaches that teens can't sexually engage with one another because that's against the Bible. Well, what's the third option, right? If they can't please themselves, well, then what is the third option for them? Again, if they can't get married, If they can't get married, they can't do that to themselves. What is the third option? And there is no third option. You can't just say, well, just ignore those urges or, just don't do it. Like, sorry, that's not true. God didn't make a world where people are supposed to suffer with urges like that. The Bible says it's better to marry than it is to burn. And that's talking about sexually. Okay. So my question, this goes for every Christian out there. If teens are not allowed to do that to themselves because you consider it to be sinful, but then on the other hand, you say they can't marry each other, well, then what are they supposed to do? You can't say, well, just ignore those urges. Like, that doesn't work. Sure, maybe a week or two you can, but eventually they have to be acted upon. So are you either going to teach them to sin in their eyes by teaching them that activity is sin, or are you going to say that they should maybe get in a relationship so that they can take care of those urges? That's my question for Christianity. And I don't think there's really any Christians out there who can logically answer that question for me. Nobody can rationally answer that question. But that's the question on the table I'll leave y'all with. Let's see. That's an interesting question. Bear with me a second. Hell, I'm just trying to catch my breath after ranting for 20 seconds. 20 minutes here. All right, the brother said, your 5 recommended channel list for doctrines, I believe he meant to say conspiracy, preparation, etc. Well, all the channels that I'll mention, I agree with them on some topics and then disagree with them on other topics. So, take them all with a grain of salt, for lack of better words, right? Don't believe everything they say. Take everything with a grain of salt. I like to listen to Full Spectrum Survival, and I'm going to go over the preparedness ones first and then the doctrinal ones. I listen to Full Spectrum Survival, Canadian Prepper. Let's see. I believe the other guy's name is the Modern Survivalist. I even read a couple of his books. And there's a couple other ones out there, but I don't have to mention all of them. As far as doctrines, I listen to Great Millstone, but take them with a grain of salt as well. I used to listen to the Sicarii, but I might have to consider after, what we hear tonight. The ISUPK, they go off on some stuff, but other things they can teach decently. Right. So again, take everybody with a grain of salt. Don't just believe everything you hear them say, both, the prepping channels and the ministry channels. I take everybody with a grain of salt. Hell, and I'll even prove that I'm legitimate. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Don't just believe something because I'm saying it. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Do your own research, which you'll probably find out that I'm right. But hey, do your own research into what's being talked about. The guy said, bet you $50 Christ ain't coming back in your lifetime. Well, man, I'll bet you $100 that he is coming back in my lifetime. Now, again, I'm not going to sit there and say anybody knows that day or the hour, but we know by the signs, right? Say, hey, you bet me 50 he won't come back. I bet you 100 he will come back. That's what I got to say. He said, all things considered, sometimes a truckload of salt. Yeah, I hear you. Let's see. What's your opinion on Peter's 6,000-year prophecy? If the calendars are changed, what what then time are we living in? Have we passed the 6,000 or nearing 6,000? What's your opinion? I'm not sure what particular scripture you're quoting as far as 600-year prophecy. I mean, 6,000 year prophecy, not 600. I mean, you'd have to put book, chapter, verse on that. But as far as the Bible goes, the Bible teaches, at least from the Apocrypha, that the earth is actually 12,000 years old. Because our perspective is we believe that each one of the days of creation represented 1,000 years. Like, say, for instance, like it says in 2 Peter 3:8, for one day with God is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are as one day. Right. So each of those days from creation, we teach that each one of those days was 1,000 years. So say, for instance, when God made the whales in the sea, or the birds in the forest, or the lizards, they had 1,000 years to multiply and recreate. And then so on and so forth. Then we got to where humans were created. So that's a few thousand years there. And then from creation to where we are now, let's say it's roughly 6,000 years. There's a part of the Apocrypha, I believe it's Second Ezra's the 14th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. It talks about how the earth is broken up into 12 different parts, right? And this was like, what was it, like 500 years before Christ was on the scene. The book of Second Ezra was written. So at that time, the world was broken into 12 parts. 9.5 parts have already passed, and then there remained 2.5 parts left. So the 2.5 parts would be the half of the part would be the extra 500 years from Ezra's time. So if we apply that 500, that would take it up to Christ's time. And then now from Christ's time to up to our day is 2,000 years. So that's the 12th part fulfilled. So we're literally at the end of the end of the end, according to that. Because it says broken into 12 parts. That's the quick math on it. So we're at the end of this thing. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to end this year or next year or 5 years from now. I can't say that. Nobody knows that day or that hour. But by all the signs we're seeing in the world, it's rapidly approaching. And anybody that can't see it, they're either in ignorance or just don't know what's going on. That's all I can say. Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Said even though it's the last days, who knows how many days that it is. We can only have today, no matter what time it is. Hey, I hear you, man. Sometimes you gotta live life in the moment, man. Scriptures say, "Don't worry upon tomorrow, for nobody knows what a day can bring." So yeah, sometimes you just gotta take things a day at a time, man. And it's uncertainty sometimes, right? Sometimes there is uncertainty, involved here. But hey, man, sometimes life is uncertain. Hey, the world's a scary place, as the saying goes, man. Full of scary things. So sometimes you just got to take things a day at a time. You never know, what's going to happen, man. I've been places. I've seen robberies take place. I've seen guns get pulled on people. I've been in situations before. I've seen situations. I've been in situations. You know, scary, man. But hey, you just gotta hope. That the Lord got you back, man. Gotta hope that He, has it set to where you're gonna live another day. Hey, Bible says, what is that? Matthew 10:28. Don't fear man, the one that can destroy the body but not the soul, but fear him, the one that can destroy both the body and the soul. So the real one that you gotta, fear and obey is God. Because He has power over all these things, both life and death. And that's not what the church teaches, right? The church won't tell you that God kills. Right, what is that? 1 Samuel 2:6. The Lord kills and makes alive, wounds and heals, and there's none who can deliver from His hands. Right, Christians in the church believe that Satan kills, but only a few will acknowledge that God's actually behind life and death. That's what the Bible teaches. So if somebody's born, God did that. If a person dies, God did that. That's why you gotta respect and obey what God says, man. Brother asked, how will 24-hour sun impact flat earth understanding? Well, my answer on that is I would just say that it doesn't prove we're living on a globe. However, I would agree that all of these flat earth models that people have been arguing back and forth, like say for instance, like the AE they call it, or the azimuthal or azimuthal, or whatever they call it, this nonsense, right? Whatever they call this nonsense, you know, it's all going to have to be reconsidered. Right? All of the models are going to be thrown in the trash and have to be reconsidered. Can somebody figure it out? Probably. I don't believe I live on a spinning globe. I have no evidence or proof to believe that I'm upside down right now, that I'm drinking this water bottle upside down and the water's staying upside down to this ball. I got no reason to believe that. That there's people surfing waves right now in Australia upside down. To me, I don't believe that. And there's no evidence of that. You know, we have evidence that they faked the moon landings, that they faked these NASA live streams, that they faked all of this stuff. That doesn't change it just because there's a 24-hour sun somewhere. That doesn't disprove those things. But good question. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good question. Brother asked, Jesus said his kingdom is not of this world. What does that mean to you? Can you elaborate, perhaps, friend? Yeah, it's very simple. When Christ said his kingdom is not of this world, he's talking about like now, currently, and back when he was walking the earth, his kingdom was not physically here, right? His kingdom was not physically here. Therefore, his servants would fight, right? They would fight for his kingdom, right? But we're not in that time now. We're not in that time of Christ's kingdom ruling on earth. Now, we believe in the future, Christ is going to come back and set up a empire. Like, say, for instance, like Daniel 2:44 says that in the days of these kings, God's going to set up a kingdom that shall break in pieces and reign over all nations, and it shall reign forever and ever. That hasn't happened yet. We're not in those days yet. The Bible says, Job 9:24, the earth was given into the hands of the wicked. Right, so the wicked are ruling the world right now. The kingdoms on earth are wicked today. Yeah, so this world right now, the current world that we're living in and the world throughout the last 2,000 years, that's not the kingdom of Christ. Right, that's not the kingdom of Christ. So his kingdom was not of this world, and currently it's not of this world. But then there's going to come a time in the future where there will be a kingdom, on the earth. But that's not right now. Even though there's guys in the comments who will tell you that it is right now. But all those guys are just wrong. Let's see. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I've seen the idea. Like, say for instance, I don't know if you're watching earlier, but I mentioned there's a guy named Sammy Owens. He's a concave roofer, and I had discussions with him about it. But he believes he is Jesus Christ. So I mean, you know, uh, that dude needs some serious medications. Right, right. He's talking about that he wouldn't drink any more wine until he drinks it new with his elect in the kingdom of God. Right. So it's I don't think it's too difficult to break that down. He's just saying that he's not going to drink of the fruit of the vine again, meaning wine, until he drinks it new with the apostles and with his elect in his father's kingdom. Now, like he is waiting for like a toast moment. Like, say for instance, like you might have like a nice, fine, expensive bottle of wine, in your living room that you might open only on a special occasion in the future. Like, say for instance, I've seen people before when they have a child, they might buy a expensive bottle of wine and then put it away for 18 years, 19 years, and then when their child graduates from school, they'll open it, as a celebration, right? But it was waiting there all those years. It's the same thing with Christ. There's going to be wine that's been, that's he's waiting to drink, with his elect new in the kingdom. He's not going to drink of it until that day comes, and that day has not came yet. Daniel 7:12. I might have to reread that. Yeah, I'll check the verse out. Matter of fact, bear with me for a second here. I mean, off of rereading it real quick, I would say, to be fair, I have to go back and read the whole chapter in my free time, but based on reading it off of just a verse there and a verse above it, it seems as if in the last days, right, when God sends his son back to judge the nations, right, he's going to bring Babylon the Great down, and then the other nations are going to be put into captivity underneath Christ. Like, say, for instance, a verse I could quote for you would be, I believe that's Psalms 148, and it talks about how the saints of God are going to have a two-edged sword in their hand, and they're going to execute judgment upon the people, right, to bind their kings in chains and their nobles in feathers of iron. Check that chapter out, right? So the kings of the other nations, some of them are going to get spared. They're not going to be immediately destroyed. They're going to be put into captivity. Like, say, for instance, talks about in Isaiah 60 and Isaiah 49 that, your sons and your daughters are going to be brought unto thee from foreign kings, right? They're going to be thy servants. Talks about Isaiah 60 that the sons of strangers, they're going to build up your walls. So somebody's going to have to be there to do that. When this transfer of power is underway. Hey, I'll give you another one. Christ said in Revelation chapter 2, verse 25 to 27, when I come back, I'm going to give him who overcomes, I'm going to give him power to reign over the nations with a rod of iron. So some of these nations are going to get spared, but they're going to be ruled over in the kingdom. So it might not instantly be, done away with when Christ comes back, but some of them are going to serve captivity to Christ and to his elect. And they're going to build up the kingdom and build up the empires of the elect. Like, remember, Christ said when he comes back, he's going to give people dominion over cities. Well, somebody's going to have to build the cities up, right? So that would be my answer, that some of these world leaders are going to be spared and put into captivity underneath Christ and his elect. That'd be my answer for you. Let's see what else is here. Do I believe Jesus is God too? Well, God has context. Like, the Bible even says that Satan's God. I believe that's 2 Corinthians 4, verse 4. It says the God of this world has blinded the minds of them that don't believe. If you read Exodus chapter 7, I believe it's verse 1, God told Moses that he would make him a god unto Pharaoh. So again, God has context to it. Is Jesus a God? Yeah, but he's not the Father God, though. Right? That's where the disagreement will come in. Is there's many classifications of God. Like, even, what was it? Sarah even called Abraham God, right? So again, God just has context to it. A man can be called God. And it says in what is that? Psalms, what is that scripture? I believe it's 84 and 6 or something like that, 82, 6. It says that ye are gods, sons of the Most High. Right? So it even calls us gods. So again, there's clearly context to these scriptures. Brother said to me, it sounds like he's waiting for all the children of God to come to repentance. Then the end will come, like he's waiting for his friends to show up. Well, that is kind of true, because if you read Matthew 24, it talks about how the gospel would have to be preached in all the world, and then the end would come. So yeah, we're waiting for the elect to be sealed, right? For all of God's elect to be sealed, and then the end's going to come, right? So again, we're waiting. Again, nobody knows when that day is going to come. Only the Father knows. Which that shows that Christ isn't the Father, because Christ said that he doesn't know what day he's coming back. Neither do the angels know, but only his Father in heaven knows. So that shows that they are different. Just a side note. He also said in John, was that scripture? John 14:28. Christ said that my Father is greater than I. And I'll give you a bonus. In Matthew 26, Christ prayed to the Father, saying, if this is your will, I'll do it, thou will. But if it be your will, let this cup pass from me. Right? So he was talking to the Father, right? Saying, whatever your will is, I'll do that. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, you're good, Flat Earth Handy. I appreciate the interaction from the comments. Yeah, if anybody else has any questions or comments, because I know we got like 10, 11 people watching live right now. If anybody else has anything you want to bring up, now would be the time to mention it, because in a few minutes we're going to be wrapping the stream up here. I might do another one tomorrow night. It's going to depend, but it's a possibility I might do another stream tomorrow night. Which technically, if you think about it, would be later tonight, because now it's considered to be the third right now. So technically later tonight, I suppose that would be. Um, so yeah, put the notification bell on, because I know we got some new subscribers. So everybody put that notification bell on, so you hopefully get notified when we do a live stream, which hopefully is going to be pretty soon. Might even bring a person or two up here if they please to do so. Michael Heiser, I've heard the name before, but I've never done any research into what he believes. I've never watched any of his breakdown videos, so I can't answer as to what he teaches, because I don't watch Michael Heiser, but I do know about the name though. Name rings a bell. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, man. But as every day passes, I mean, I think it's abundantly clear, that this place is on her last leg. This place, this empire, the sun is setting on it, for lack of better terms. Right? Hey, every empire rises, but every empire falls. And it certainly seems like, according to all the information we're seeing, that this empire, she's not going to have many more days left. I mean, again, you could look at any different aspect, whether you look at the economy, whether you look at the morality, in every way, this place is fallen. Like shit, half the country is confused about their gender, can't even point out two countries on the world map without, showing them the actual names of the country. Everybody's at, a seventh grade reading level. It's really bad out here, man. This is really bad. I didn't even mention the prices of living out here, man. Like seriously, like I'll give you an example. The other day I was at the store and I was talking to the worker there. I believe she was like 16 years old. You could tell that she was like in high school, right? So I was talking to her, asked her, what aisle is this or that, and and she told me, we were just having a discussion, and she was like, yeah, I'm only making like 7.25 an hour here. I was thinking to myself, I was like, what 26 7.25 an hour, excuse me. 7.25 an hour. What the hell? I mean, that's not even enough to get a damn lunch at McDonald's. Have people working out here for 7.25, $8 an hour. This is slavery right here. This is slavery. And if you can't realize that, then you don't know what the hell is going on. If you can't realize the corruption in this society, like again, people can't live a livable lifestyle. You can't live after or chase after that quote unquote American dream that is supposedly available for everybody. You can't chase after that making $8 or $10 an hour. Like I even joke with like Galapagos, once or twice. It was like, hey, look, man, even if we were making 20 an hour, even 25, 30 an hour, you still would be struggling with bills every month. You would still be struggling with bills, even if we were making 30 an hour. Because remember, there's tax on everything, right? They deduct money out of your wages. So you're really not even bringing in that much. Like, say, for instance, if you make 10 an hour, you're really making 8 an hour because they take tax out of that 10. Again, it's unjust and unfair. You know what I find funny? Like recently I was watching this entertainment series. It's called Beast Games. It was made by this guy, Jimmy Donaldson, aka Mr. Beast. And it's like a 10-part series on Amazon's Prime. But and in case you did not watch it and would like to watch it, I'm not going to spoil who won the game show. But what I will say though is the winner of the show, they were supposed to receive $10 million as the grand prize winner, right? $10 million as the grand prize winner. And then guess what? Jimmy sends this guy over the money over the whatever app they're using to transport the money, and then the FBI chimes in and says, you know what, we got to take 5 million out of that 10 million. That's our fair share. So people were joking in the comments like, I would like to congratulate the FBI for winning Beast Games. It's like, whoa, what? So they're taking $5 million out of this guy's $10 million prize pool. And it's sad because this person that won, again, I'm not going to try to spoil it here, but the person who won, they were going to, put this money towards, you know, um, important medical needs. For lack of better terms, I'll just put it that way, just to not spoil the series if anybody wants to watch it, right? So I just find this I just find this to be disgusting, right? It's disgraceful, it's disgusting, and everybody has nothing to say about it. Like, if somebody robs somebody on the street for $20, oh yeah, that guy's such a terrible person. But if government robs somebody of millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, who cares? There's no big deal. Like that's retarded right there. That's not a free nation. That's not how free men think. That's how servants think. And Americans are servants, to the master, the overlord, the U.S. government, and that's evident to see. Hello, Bismarck. How are you? All right, you as well. Have a good night as well. Okay, now I'm going to go an extra 10 minutes, because of my OCD. I'm going to wrap up at like 2.5, yeah, 2.5 hours. I think that's reasonable for tonight's stream. I'll wrap it up at 2.5 hours, so it gives us about roughly 9.5 minutes left. So, so yeah, man, it's It's astonishing what's going on right now, whether we're talking about in the Christian community, where we're talking about in the Israelite community, or just, world events in general. It's just shocking and unbelievable what's going on right now, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just, yeah, it's, a lot to take in, for lack of better terms, man. Miss Kravitz, right? Oh, man. Brother asks, what's your opinion on the gospel of the kingdom versus gospel of Christ versus everlasting gospel? Is there any difference? I would say they're all the same thing. It's just using a different abbreviation for them. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, say, for instance, being saved or receiving salvation, they're the same thing. They just are using different pronunciations or different abbreviations. Right. So they're same thing. Like, say, for instance, I'll give you another example. Like, people try to say it, there's like different law codes, right? Like, say, they'll try to say the law of the morality, right? Or just the moral law, right? Just the moral law, and different from the dietary law, or I don't know all these different phrases these guys use, but they try to like throw all these different like law phrases out there where they try to say like God's law is like broken up into all types of different categories, and like you don't have to live by all of the categories, just certain ones. That's not true. All of the law is just called the law. Now, sure, the Bible does break down different laws on different subjects. That is true. But we could call them different categories, but they're all still labeled under the law, though. So somebody can't say, well, yeah, well, I don't have to live by the dietary law. I just got to live by, like, loving my neighbor. That's all I got to live by. It's like, no, that's not true. Christ said that you got to live by all the law, right? Christ said, not one jot or one tittle will pass from the law until all things are fulfilled. And all things have not been fulfilled. I mean, there's prophecies in the Old Testament about Christ returning. That hasn't been fulfilled. There's prophecies about literally the whole world being judged. That hasn't happened. There's prophecies about, the whole world being forced to take a mark. That hasn't happened yet. We could keep going on and on and on, but clearly all things are not fulfilled. And hell, that ties back to the conversation I had earlier tonight with this girl out there. What was her name? Nisha? Hey, Nauseous? Nauseous, I should call her. And she's like, oh, Jesus fulfilled all things. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean, fulfill all things? Because even from your knowledge and, supposed knowledge and perspective, even you wouldn't agree that all things are fulfilled, because there's prophecies in the Old Testament about Christ that haven't even happened yet. Like Isaiah, the 66th chapter, for one example. What about Isaiah the 66th chapter? 63rd, 66th chapter, one of those talks about Christ in the wine press, about he, it burns in his heart to come back and bring vengeance upon the people, to trample them in his fury. That hasn't happened yet. What about Amos 5:18, right? The day of the Lord is darkness and not bright, even very dark and no brightness in it, as if a man, leaned his hand on a wall and a serpent bit him, or ran from a lion in the woods and a bear met him. Right? Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not bright, even very dark and no brightness in it? And the church isn't going to teach you that. They're teaching, all lollipops and rainbows and hugs and kisses, and fruit roll ups for everybody. That's what the church is teaching. And that's what that dummy Ace Theo is teaching. Oh, salvation's for everybody. Like, like literally, the dude's on there talking about that everybody in the world is going to go to heaven when they pass away. Right? Like, he teaches universalism. And that means, that like salvation is literally for all the world. Even people who don't accept it are going to be saved, according to universalism. Oh, Jesus is all in all, right? He paid for it all, right? Even if you don't accept it, it still counts as as you accepting it. Right? Like that's literally what these dummies will be on there and tell you. Like, but hey, I'm sorry, but that's not true. You believe a lie. And whether you're, you know, capable of acknowledging that or not, that's up for you to decide. But guess what? The truth is that you guys are in error. All right, both of you freak racers, all these Christian groups out there, these universalist, we could keep listening people, but all these guys are in error. Oh, the full preterists, can't forget about those dudes. All these guys are in error of not knowing those scriptures. Well, we'd say that revived Roman Empire, we say that America is the revived Roman Empire, right? The United States is Rome back in its second incarnation. Like if you read what is that? Revelation, the 13th chapter, talks about the beast that was and is not, but yet is. Yeah, that's Rome coming back as the United States, right? Everything America does, it's in the faction of ancient Rome. Like say, for instance, America's national eagle, or I should say animal, is the eagle, right? That's the symbol of America. Same thing with ancient Rome, right? The governmental buildings out here are structured the same way ancient Rome was. They even use Roman numerals in the law code. In order to know and read law, you have to know Roman numerals, right? Even the political structure out here. In Rome, they used to have the Flavians versus the patricians. Today, you have the Democrats versus the Republicans. So it's literally the same revived ancient system back again today. Yeah, so we teach America is Rome, in her second reincarnation or her second resurrection. That's what we teach on it. Well, thank you for the question. So I'm gonna be wrapping up here. It's got maybe 2 minutes left. Bear for me a second. Well, Seventh Kingdom was the British Empire, right? America, like if you read Revelation 17, it talked about how the again, I'm nearly paraphrasing off the top of the head, but it says that the eighth came out of the seventh and goes into perdition, right? So the seventh is Great Britain, and America was founded by Great Britain, right? Remember the history, right? The Pilgrims came over and established the 13 colonies, right? They came over from Great Britain, then had wars for independence from Great Britain, right? So the mother of America is Great Britain. And there's even a quote, I believe it's in Isaiah 50 or 51, that talks about, even her mother will be sore confounded, right? She that bore thee shall be ashamed. Right? Well, the nation and the history that was born from another nation is America. Rome was basically just established. I mean, there's different mythologies behind the founding of Rome, such as Romulus and Remus, right? Um, but Rome didn't stem from another nation, right? So that's the breakdown as to that question. But anyway, I'm going to wrap the stream up there. Everybody remember to thumb up the video if you enjoyed, and tune in later tonight if I decide to do another stream. But thank everybody for stopping by. Have a good night.